So over the last several weeks, I have been working on and am almost finished with a very special journal. And in today's video, I want to give you a flip through of some of those pages, and then also to demonstrate how a journal like this could be a really good way to showcase some of your vintage photos or maybe family memorabilia that you've been wondering how to display or how to collage with. So hopefully this is going to give you some ideas. So here is my journal that I want to share with you today. What's interesting about it is that I soaked everything in a tea bath before assembling the pages. And I'll talk a little bit more about the very simple construction of the covers and the binding, but let's just go right into what this looks like. In addition to the tea that was used, we also included bits of colored flavored teas and some metal bits that would kind of change the coloration of the pages. Now, when I say we, I'm talking about the membership that I run called the Vintage and Collage Club. We do projects every month, and we did a big project through the summer. So this was something that we did June, July, and now wrapping up in August. So we collected our pieces and assembled some collages on our pages, and then soaked all of this in a tea bath. In addition to the papers, I also used a little bit of cheesecloth here and some small layers of papers that I added on after the collage, after the page was put into this journal. Now the binding is kind of interesting. Let me show you really quickly how I did this. A collage was done on each one of these pages just on a single side. The back side was kept blank. And then each person was supposed to decide if they wanted to put two pages together, back to back, or to have them single-sided and then collage separately something else on the back. So since this was a single piece, what I did was I took some paper and I kind of folded it in, what is it called, an accordion fold back and forth. And then when I had my page, I would slip it in between here like this and glue it down. So I could do that for a couple of pages. And the reason why I did that was because, well, I needed to create some kind of hinge, but then I also wanted to reinforce it with these hole reinforcers. These, I don't know what they're called. They're paper reinforcers? Not sure. You can just buy them in the office supply store. That way I would be a little bit more confident about them not tearing in the future. So that is what I did. A lot of these pages were really heavily stained from tea. So we took papers and sprinkled colored teas or flowers in between and then stacked them up and then soaked them in the tea bath. And then when they were removed and taken out and dried over several hours, once the papers were separated, then some very interesting markings were left behind. Here's another collage I did, and I just kind of wrapped around some pages over the edges. Lots of interesting layers, a postage stamp to finish at the end. I've chosen to use a lot of vintage papers and materials that I have, including vintage photos. Sometimes if something was written on the back of the vintage photo, I would write it down in a spot on the page just to kind of keep those words together with the photo. We also did something called a Frankenpage, maybe you've heard of it, where we assemble a large sheet of a paper from a bunch of scraps. And what we did with the Franken paper was that, you set it down at the base, stick your stack of collaged papers, folded the Franken paper over it, and then soaked the entire thing in the bath. That's why this one kind of came out a little bit crumpled, because it had been folded over my stack of papers. And then when I unfolded it, there were all these creases and folds in it, and it kind of gave it a different texture than a flat paper. But then I added this photo afterwards and, you know, added some of the embellishing. Here you can see what this looks like. I had put a key in between my papers, and the rust left this kind of ghosting around, which is really interesting. Here I had an old envelope, and I did put this one also through the tea bath, so it's got a little bit of the coloring of the tea there. And then just use it as a pocket almost to put some notes inside. Another old photo. I also had a bunch of trade cards, and these were vintage trade cards from Arm & Hammer from the early 1900s, and they fit so nicely into this journal. Here's another vintage photo. These photos have no connection to me. These are photos that I picked up at antique stores over the years. I've just collected them, had them, kept them, and it's been really nice to have this kind of journal to be able to put them in. I really liked, I still do, I still like very much finding these photos of old homes, of people outside of their homes, in their yards. Those kinds of photos are really special to me. Here's another key imprint here, so I'm thinking about possibly adding something else over here, but I'm not sure yet. Here's another key imprint, and it got very dark in this area. It just adds another layer of interest, really. I also soaked some very thin paper. This was a bag of some sort, right? And how I put it in here was I used fabric tape, and I just folded it over on, you know, on back to front. And that way it's I feel very secure that it's not going to tear or fall out. Just some more dark pages. If something was too dark, then I had the ability to add something over the top, collage with it, and cover over those spots that I didn't like. Here's another huge piece of metal, and it rusted very nicely, left some very interesting markings here as well. Here's another great vintage photo. This is a vintage postcard and a letter. Of course, or an envelope, I should say. I matched the postcard with the stamp. There's another vintage envelope. I stuck a piece of cardstock in between so that it's nice and thick. And I used 2 tickets and folded them over again, back to front, before gluing them down, and punched them. And so this is also a really great way to reinforce those holes. Okay, a couple more pages here. Another great imprint of a key, last photo, and an old check. So this was the cover, and I left this as it is. The front cover, I went ahead and I collaged the front, but the back I really like this coloration and marks from the lemongrass and, I don't know, blueberry tea or something that I had bought. I will put the link in the description if you're interested in the tea that I used for this. So now I want to talk briefly about the covers. These were Reader's Digest covers, and I put them in the tea bath as well. This page, or this cover, was actually at the very base, and some of the page that was underneath stuck to it, and when I was separating the papers, some of them tore. And that's okay, because it kind of gives it, again, more character, you know, more things going on, which is totally fine with me. I decided to do the orientation this way, kind of in a landscape mode rather than this way. I don't know why. I just picked this direction and that's the direction that I went in. For the binding, I got a piece of fabric and I rubber stamped on the fabric with black ink. And then I had this red twine I liked because there are these red marks on the cover. I thought that would work really well. I didn't seal the top, and they're actually a little bit warped from the tea dye, but that's okay. I don't mind that it's warped. It gives it, it's something else that's interesting about it, and it is the way it is, right? I'm not going to fuss too much about these details. So let me show you how I collage on some of these pages. Very recently, I got this album from an antique store. I spent $30 for it, and maybe that is, in your opinion, too much money. $30 is too much. It has a lot of great photos in it, and I know that I can use them. So to me, it was worth it. I made the commitment. I was like, okay, $30. Can I do something with this? I can. I'm not going to use all the photos now in my journal, but I like having options of what I can use in my photos. So let me choose one from here. I like these ones with houses and people in front of their homes. This one's nice. Look at, this is somebody's living room table, right? 1936. So if you have old photos and you want to display them in some way, a journal like this is really good because there's a lot of neutral backgrounds, neutral colors, and there's so many things that you can do with collage. So let me see where I want to put this. Maybe here. Unfortunately, I think I'm going to have to cover up some of these marks because the photo's quite big, but that's okay. The point is that I want to showcase this photo. And since I do want to showcase the photo, I don't want to add too many collage elements. So I think I'm just going to do something simple like this. It was a piece of a letter, and this has got some stenciling on it with modeling paste. So I might do something like this. And then possibly just a piece of text, maybe like this. Very simple. You don't need to do a lot for this. Since this has modeling paste on it, I'm going to go ahead and use my double-sided tape to add this on. But I can go ahead and use glue on this one. Let me figure out my placement before I press this down. Yep, that should do it right there. And then this goes down here. If I wanted to, I could add another tiny embellishment here, but I think I'm good just the way it is. All right, so that is that. All right, so you may have questions about this tea journal. How did I make it? What was the ratio of tea to water? How long did things steep? Because I really enjoyed doing this project, I am going to do it again. I will do it again next summer. So if you are interested in doing this same project with me next year, then make sure that you're on my mailing list, on my email list, so that I can keep you informed and let you know when we're going to start it. And then you can decide if it's something you're still interested in doing, and if you want to sign up for the membership to do that with me, you can. The great thing about it is that we do it in chunks spread out over a period of months so that it doesn't have to be done all at once, and you can take those individual tasks and work on them over a period of time. So if you want to see a video with a different journal, here is another video that might be interesting to you. In this journal, I am using fabric. So if you want to see the flip through of this one, then check out this video.